So where'd the name come from?
Well, I lived in London, so that was the area. It was called Belgravia.
Okay.
And Hartford was a company in my 20s. I used to work with them. It was a big insurance company.
In London?
No, that was in Toronto.
Toronto, okay. Got it.
And then ironically, not even knowing it, when I look at Berkshire Hathaway, because, you love the company for what it was and what it is, I noticed that they both have the same number of letters, Belgravia and Berkshire, and Hathaway and Hartford, and then they both started with BE and HA. And really the only difference is a few $100 billion, but we're buying Bitcoin and they're not, or not as of yet.
Yeah.
But it's a couple of little similarities, a couple of differences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the company is based in Canada.
Correct.
And there is no operating piece. It's just buying Bitcoin.
It's a holding company.
It's a holding company.
You're seeing more of it, erupt more, I would say, in Canada, because, the Canadian capital markets is obviously, it's a fraction of the US capital markets. I mean, our large cap may be an American micro cap.
Okay.
The market cap of a mid cap in Canada might be the commission of an American broker. So, we're talking very different, it's just the scale is too big in the US. But so what we're looking at, and I've encouraged other companies to do this, is, if you have some cash and you're an operating company of holding investments, passive investments, why go and suffocate yourself to try to understand a company's balance sheet, operation, management, where there's always going to be, human issues and errors and logistics, and when you could buy the world's best asset class. I mean, it's just that simple. If you're going and investing in ABC Corp or wherever company that they have operations, you got to know the management, you got to know the CFO, you got to know their goals, you got to know their budget, you got to know what they're making, what they're spending. With Bitcoin, as Joey has been, instrumental in teaching me, that is, you eliminate the biggest risk factor of a company. You don't have to call someone and say, hey, what happened? You see what's happening.
You could just look at the price of Bitcoin and see what's happening.
That's correct. I said once, we didn't adopt the Bitcoin standard. The Bitcoin standard adopted us, because, by us saying we're going to buy, 5 or 10 Bitcoins to start off, but the market actually enabled us to go and buy more. And that's why we were able to close the raise that we did today. And we were actually to restructure the raise, only because the stock went up so high, it wouldn't make sense to dilute the shareholder base. When we announced the raise at the time, the stock was, Joy and I were sitting in Toronto and the stock was at 12 cents. Sorry, it closed at 12 cents. So that they opened up, went up to 24. And, there were, typical Toronto, banking community. They want to do the deal at 25% discount. They want to, an advantageous warrant and fees and that. And, Joey was very adamant, we're not doing a deal like that. And in Canada, deals like that are done all the time, because there's a high G&A cost. You raise X, half the money goes to, corporate development and so on, and half the money goes for whether in biopharma, mining. But in this case, Bitcoin allowed us to raise the money. Our stock, because of our shareholder base, because of their commitment, the stock moved up. We were able to restructure and not do as dilutive as a deal. And that's really the power of Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. You can't do that by saying you're buying gold bullion or silver or oil and gas commodities. We're a believer in everything. We don't have any problem with them. But only Bitcoin gives you that torque. Only Bitcoin gives you that community. And our dedication and the way we have to be loyal back is we got to put everything back in. And for a micro cap company, you see it more. For a company of our size, look, we're living proof this works. And the more companies that do it, especially in Canada, because there are a lot of these junior companies, micro cap companies who may have had failed ventures or, projects didn't go well. And that's part of being an entrepreneur. Things fail. Mm-hmm. But if you adopt this, then, you don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. You don't have to go and invent something or create something. Just raise money, buy Bitcoin. Raise money, buy Bitcoin. Your stock will go up, then it will come down. your shareholders will change hands, then it happens again. And, all we're going to do is just follow what Michael Saylor has done, follow the leader, and that's it. And it is a race. At first, maybe I was a little humble or a little more cautious, but no, it is an absolute race. It is a helmets on, arms race, and you got to be sprinting. And if you're not sprinting, you better be tag along with somebody who is sprinting with you. Mm-hmm. So it is a race, 100%. And I think we demonstrated that today with our creativeness to restructure our financing. And we're on the phones. We're talking to people overseas. We're ready. We're ready to announce bigger and better deals and keep moving forward.
Can you walk us through what happened today, if that's something that you've announced or will announce by the time we...
Yeah, we announced it this morning, 9:30. So back in June 24th, we announced a private placement.
Okay.
And that was when the stock had really sharply moved up. We announced an above market private placement for 40 million shares at 25 cents, half a warrant at 50. At the time it was a great opportunity. But as the stock kept going higher, we got a very strong and dedicated shareholder base, which we're very grateful for, because without them, we wouldn't be here. And, they created this. So we're working with them, for them. As the stock kept moving higher, we realized we're getting more subscription agreements. We're getting more interest for this 25-cent private placement. Even though it's close, people are calling us. They still want to participate. And the market is performing. I mean, the stock is trading well over that in the, maybe 20 some odd $1 million in the actual public domain. We realized we can't fully dilute 40 million shares at a quarter. It just wouldn't be right. We could take the money, and the leap of faith and the big moment for us was, this is where we got to think 10 steps ahead. This is where we got to do a convertible debenture, because we believe in Bitcoin. We believe it will outperform, and we believe it will be better off by taking a less dilutive equity and convertible, which is partially at 25 cents Canadian, partially at 71 cents Canadian. And it comes from one of the most credible sources in Canada. I mean, it's round 13. Can't say, they're just the most incredible people that we've been, humbled to be working with them. I mean, that opportunity just put us on the map right now. I mean, a month ago, our market cap was significantly less, and we were thinking about the strategy. But really the strategy, as Joey says, Bitcoin will create your strategy if you feed the system, and the shareholders are feeding you. You keep buying Bitcoin, the doors will open up. And I think what we want to demonstrate over the next month and weeks ahead is every dollar that comes in, we're going to plug it back in. And we're going to have the metrics, we're going to have the system, we're going to show it, transparency. And I mean, look, people can be positive or negative, but we're just going to be transparent. Let them be the judge.
Anything surprise you so far as the community, or you touched on the capital market side of it a little bit? Yeah,
I think people they're dedicated. I mean, it's their company. They're putting a lot of money in. They could say, they have every right to say whatever they have to say. So I think for a company, for us, we have to listen. We have to do right. And the good thing is, it's a proactive community. It's, if you do something good, you're rewarded. If you do something wrong, people work with you to correct it. And if you do something really wrong, well, then your stock pays the price. Mm-hmm. So I think it's complete, transparent market, fluid market.
Do you think retail understands accretive dilution? And if so, to what extent? Right? It's like, stop hitting the ATM. But I mean, are those just short sellers? Or are those just people that like to be disagreeable? Or is this, I mean, it's a journey for everybody, and maybe there's things you can and cannot say, but it's just like an interesting theme of noise. Look, I mean, on the social side.
Yeah. I think, dilution is your friend, because without money, you can't do anything. So you have to dilute to move forward, as long as you're buying the right investment class. Mm-hmm. So if you're raising funds to deploy it elsewhere, I think long term it just doesn't make any sense. But we're following the textbook. like the book you showed me. Yes. Just fall, like, don't do anything. We're not doing anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Just we're the leaders there. We're here. We're just gonna do our thing to catch up. And other companies may do other things, and they get creative and want to do all sorts of fun projects, and that's great. That's not our job. Our job is quite simple. Just raise money, buy Bitcoin, get creative to raise money, buy more Bitcoin. And for a company of our size, we've demonstrated that in the first 37 days. I think it's pretty monumental what we announced, for a company of our size to be here to raise more money. And now we're in the progress of raising more money. We'll announce it as we go. We'll keep announcing it. And, it's just, we have the vehicle. We have the torque. We have the vehicle now.
Can you guys touch on your backgrounds and your journey to Bitcoin? 'Cause I feel like a big part of this is, capital markets and community, but like the conviction is kind of that centerpiece that, to me, kind of obvious that it's important to the community. I mean, some people are, newer to Bitcoin. Some people have been around since like Satoshi era, and I think that's maybe less important, but it's just like people being able to understand what someone's view is on it, how they think about it, because Bitcoin is so multifaceted. It means different things to different people, and everybody has their story and how they see that.
Yeah, I think you touched on it. It means different things to different people. And for us, let's kind of go back. I mean, about a decade ago, I had this idea. And I think the different, everybody had the idea for Facebook one way or another. Just one guy, he was smarter than everybody to execute it, right? So we had the idea about a decade ago to utilize the public code to buy alternative assets. We made some investments. Those investments didn't pan out. Naturally, there were human errors. We were betting on people, and the people did not execute. But therefore, we walked away and we lost money, and we looked at other investments. And that kind of goes, again, another evidence of why Bitcoin works. You're not investing in people right away. You're eliminating 90, 95% of 100% of macro problems that could come up from it. So, it was always in the back of my head that, a public company should have an investment that's naturally governed on its own. So if you look at a fiat currency, that's what it is. But then you're still at the major risk of political leaders, your major risk of political events. So therefore, it's the opposite of what you actually want. So if you invest in the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, there's always going to be somebody that says something that's going to affect it, commodities and so on. So you by default eliminate that possibility. So Bitcoin, if you take 10 scenarios why you should not invest in Bitcoin or why invest in Bitcoin, they all lead you back. And, as I'm learning, as I'm studying, as I'm, we're a student of the business, as we evolve, we understand there is no other path. I mean, I would love for someone to kind of, explain why you should go elsewhere. We had one of the press releases, there was a funny word in there, which everybody used to take big pride on. It said diversified. We're eliminating. There's no diversification. It is Bitcoin, 100% Bitcoin. Do you want to touch on that?
You're all in on the chair.
Last time. I mean,
you're all in on the mic.
all,
Yeah. No, that sounds great, man. You did great. That was really, really beautifully said. Yeah, Tim, to answer your question, my journey started in 2017. I was in the process of developing and filling what was once the world's largest macaroni factory in Chicago on the corner of 21st and Morgan in a neighborhood called Pilsen. It's a 5-story heavy timber Chicago common masonry building on 3 acres that my father bought out of law school. And I dropped out of college in 2009 and kind of decided I was going to make my career as a real estate developer. I maybe should give some context that my great-grandfather started our family business in 1906 in Chicago. And we own and manage somewhere in the ballpark of 10 million square feet of real estate. And we also own a bank. So I worked as a teller during summer school, in high school, and in college. And the year I dropped out of school, I was very familiar with this one site, this old macaroni factory, because my dad used to take me there as a young boy. I learned how to ride a dirt bike in its parking lot. Like, in the property, it always stayed primarily warehouse. And I started moving in like creative, artistic entrepreneurs, if you will, people that maybe couldn't get office downtown. The barrier to office, or that the barrier to entry to sign an office lease, was high at that time in Chicago, and the loft office space was trendy. And so in 2017, a friend of mine named Mehdi Azodi, who now is part of the Belgravia Hartford Treasury team, he's a cypherpunk. He's been through all 4 halvings. He moved in a ton of computers and a bunch of ASICs. And at the time, they were Bitmain Antminer S9s, were the Bitcoin miners that we had in the building. And originally, he was on the 2nd floor of this five-story building, and they were creating so much heat that we moved them to the 5th floor so we can cut an exhaust fan into the ceiling, or into the roof, rather. So that was my first exposure to Bitcoin, was seeing it mined and being like, what the F is this? Especially being the son of a banker. Traditional finance runs in my DNA. So like, 2 of my brother-in-laws are bankers. I'm one of 5. I have 4 sisters. And we've just always have been kind of like a brass tacks, traditional family in family business. And I know my grandfather would be super proud because of what we're doing now with Bitcoin, but not that he was privy to it. He passed in 2013, but I say that to say he had bought the bank in 1993, and he died in 2013 at 80, but he would track our flights on his phone, like with FlightAware. Like, he was super like nimble and willing to make the changes on a dime, technology speaking. Like, he was the first person that we knew that got a fax machine, etc. So anyway, Matt started mining Bitcoin in Lacuna. That was the name of the development. And I immediately knew that if we didn't adopt Bitcoin in some capacity then, that we risk being put out of business by it. Just today, just to give an example, so yesterday at 1:00, we closed this financing, $10.8 million in financing. We announced the financing on the 24th or 26th of June.
24th.
Okay. We bought our first Bitcoin as a company 37 days ago today. From the time that we announced the financing until yesterday at 1:00 was maybe 10 days or 2 weeks, something like that. The amount of hurdles that folks had to go through to get wires in and sign documents and sign wire forms and leave voicemails for bankers is just, it's hard to believe that it's still happening. When you can literally send Bitcoin, it may take 10 minutes to settle because of the block time, but you don't have any intermediary. If you were to send it from your MyNode, for example, Coinbase, yesterday we were sending Bitcoin and they were backed up. So sometimes you have to wait 28 minutes or 30 minutes. But regardless, just all of the friction being removed is just so cool to see. So I know that was a really long answer about how I got introduced to Bitcoin. But yeah, so, and then I've just been fascinated by it ever since. I learned something new about Bitcoin every day. It's just unbelievable to me how dense and full of perfect code it is. So yeah, grateful to be here, grateful to you. And we really enjoyed being on the digital Bitcoin conference. I thought that was really sick that you did that, to dematerialize the traditional Bitcoin conference, because I was there in Vegas a couple months ago. My dad and I were there. It was great. We had a lot of fun, but it's exhausting. You're back and forth to the room. There's a ton of people. it just, yeah, the first day was nice because there was like 20% of the amount of people. And then it got really hectic when the general admission started to pile in. And that's what was nice about the digital conference was we were all in the comfort of our own home. I felt bad for you because you were like at it for 12 hours. I'm like, someone get this guy a drink by the time it was over. But hats off to you, Tim. Really, you've been a super advocate for the space, and we're forever indebted to you. So I appreciate you having us today.
When you first saw the mining, did your mind go to this electricity that this guy's paying for is being turned into monetary energy? Or and was it like the supply cap restraint, or how did you first kind of think about it?
That's a great question. It wasn't until Jason Lowry explained the watts being the capital there. Like that was when it clicked for me with the power. But the power was ridiculous. I mean, the power that those things drew and absorbed was absurd. Like there was 300 businesses in this big building. And they were all little businesses, like between 200 and 500 square feet. And the majority of them some of them had podcasts set up like this. Others were tattoo artists and had tattoo machines. But part of the incentive to move people into the building was we paid for the electricity. So nobody had to go and get their own ComEd accounts or what have you. So Matt loved that. Because you walked into his space and it was just like full of computers from floor to ceiling. I mean, when we're done filming, I'll show you some video and photos of it. It was fascinating. He had a desk set up like that with the screens. But what I liked about it that I understood right away that it was finite, that it was totally decentralized, and that you had all these nodes on the network protecting the network, acting as referees. And I understood that right away. Matt did a really good job explaining. I didn't really understand the power side of it and how and it's still complicated to me how you can mine Bitcoin and it's almost like you can teleport electricity anywhere around the world instantly through the Bitcoin, through the Satoshis. But yeah, it's a great question. And maybe a little bit complex for me to explain, but it was really neat to see. I'm still fascinated with Bitcoin mining. It is the lifeblood of the network, and it's just so great to have a decentralized, worldwide banking system, if you will, new financial system that everybody owns. You don't have to be an elitist shareholder of a bank to own a bank anymore.
Bitcoin custody is evolving, and OnRamp leads this change with multi-institution custody, eliminating single points of failure. Instead of one institution or complex private keys, OnRamp secures your Bitcoin in a segregated, cold storage, multi-sig vault backed by 3 independent, institutional-grade custodians. No single custodian can move funds by themselves, providing an unprecedented level of security that traditional custody solutions simply can't match. Protected by a $100 million Lloyd's of London insurance policy, all transactions are fully auditable on-chain, never rehypothecated, and executed only at your explicit direction. This means complete transparency and control over your assets at all times. Beyond custody, OnRamp delivers comprehensive Bitcoin financial services, including lending, trading, inheritance planning, IRAs, and more. OnRamp functions as your private banking partner, coordinating key holder activity, removing technical burdens, and providing a personalized, trust-minimized experience tailored to your specific wealth preservation goals. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or an experienced holder, OnRamp's approach helps secure generational wealth with unmatched security and peace of mind. Visit onrampbitcoin.com today to learn more, sign up, or book a free consultation with their team of Bitcoin custody experts. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by Stampseed. If you're in cold storage, you know how important it is to protect your seed phrase. That's why I recommend you head over to stampseed.com and check it out for yourself. This seed phrase storage device is one solid piece of titanium. There are no loose pieces, and you can hammer your seed phrase in letter by letter. When you go to stampseed.com, use promo code TIM15 for a 15% discount across the website. That's TIM15. Join us at the Win in Las Vegas, February 23rd through the 26th, 2026 for Bitcoin for Corporations. Use code KOTZ when you grab your tickets at strategy.com, and we'll see you there. So you described your family. Did everybody else get it? Did it click? Or what were those conversations like?
No, I'm glad you asked. Only actually my father's the only Bitcoiner out of the whole group. He's one of 10, and his siblings own the bank, him and his siblings. And his little brother, Philip Cacciatore, is the chairman and CEO of the bank. And he told me, Joe, I can't buy it until it's $1 million. Like, we're not buying it until it gets that big. So, So for guys like that, like when Saylor says guys that are super wealthy that don't need it, then, they don't buy it. So, and then some of my dad's younger brothers, my dad's born in May of 1958. So he's almost 7 years old. And some of his younger siblings, they say to me, Joe, it's too late. Like, I should have bought it when it was 20,000, 50,000. Like, it's too expensive now. So it's really only my dad that continues to stack sats. Like, he sends me screenshots of his Coinbase wallet like every week, and I'm so proud of him because it's just, no matter the price, he's always buying. So, and he's been buying long enough to see that he feels it, that he gets the fluctuation in the price, which is great. It feels really good. Mm-hmm. But at a 50 Kager, 50 vol, like, I mean, this thing is just way bigger than anybody maybe not bigger than anybody had ever imagined, but moving faster, I think, than at least we predicted. So.
What's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 365, 24/7. Doesn't matter the nationality or the language you speak. Like, I mean, it's just fascinating. It's so good. So, can you announce that what we're doing with our fundraising?
I mean, look, we put it publicly. 100% goes to Bitcoin. I mean, it's
when are you buying?
We close
more
today.
Bitcoin?
We close today. Look, there's 2 tranches to the closing, right? There was the equity portion, which the lawyers are transferring over today. So that money's in our account. We don't play around. The moment we get it, we buy it. Then we're closing the convertible debenture, which is a binding agreement. That takes 5 days. Right away. It's like we're not playing around. We're not sitting back. We're not going to tell you, no, we're going to tell you what we're doing. We took your money. We're buying Bitcoin. That's
right.
it.
And you don't time the market.
No, we don't time how
like the famous Buffett or Charlie Munger quote. Like, you're better time in the market than trying to time the market. No one's
smart enough to time. If someone says they're going to time the market, get the hell out. Like, that's the dumbest thing anybody could say. Like, how could I be? I'm smart enough to know that I'm going to buy Bitcoin and it could dip or go up, go down. No, you can't time the market. Now, dollar cost averaging is great, but that's when you have significant more capital coming in. But right now, no, because there's a risk to that. What if you miss? What if, you saw what happened, a few days ago. So,
can you just touch on real quick? Sorry, I don't mean to. No. I just want you to mention to Tim and his viewers that about the overseas.
So
letter of intent.
We're getting. Obviously, we can't name names, but we've been gracefully, getting lots of inquiries. And, as you mature as a company and you grow, the interest level, you got different investor base. And, one thing about me is, I respond to everybody, even people who are critical and who are not so nice. They're fun too sometimes. You got to play with. Yeah, we got an interesting proposal, like, rapidly. And, there's a couple of them actually, because they have money to deploy. and they must deploy it. And, if you meet their if you meet their checkbox, and it's a quick marriage. So that's an opportunity that we have. Again, it just goes back to us as a company looking at opportunities. These opportunities do not come if you're in a different asset class. If you're in real estate, forget about it. If you're in anything else, no. This is it. So selfishly, we're utilizing the world's greatest asset to increase our net asset value and to make our shareholders money through liquidity in the market, through share appreciation. So it's a hand, it's kind of hand-holding cooperation here. So yeah, we're getting a lot of interest by, I would say junior banks are calling as we get into uplisted, but specific funds, large institutions. And, it's great. I mean, we have a good team to help us navigate through that. And everybody who's around us, everybody who works with us is a shareholder. We don't have a big operational team. Everyone's a shareholder. Directors haven't been paid in years. They're shareholders. Everyone's hands-on effort here. Without, we would love to, we've said it, we want to work on creative financing. I think we showed the market this closing was creative. Now we're working on stuff that's more creative, more shareholder friendly.
Less dilutive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the converts.
Converts make sense. Yeah. I mean, if you have a right partner like Round 13, who are very ethical, very, very good people, they're not going to be there shorting your stock to clip a couple of pennies. No, they are.
But Khaled said it yesterday on the phone. Khaled's great. We love Khaled. And he said, guys, it's time to pass the baton to a bigger institution.
Yeah.
So the call we had yesterday, I think it seems like they're pretty massive investment bank. And for them to send a term sheet after a 15 or 20 minute introductory call
at midnight, yeah.
It is just mind blowing. I've been in capital markets my whole life. I've never had that type of turnaround to raise money. Literally on the term sheet, it's once you sign, we'll fund in 48 hours.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable, the money that's pouring in to these listed Bitcoin Treasury companies. It's fascinating.
Look, if we can demonstrate over the next month that, upon, how long did it take for it to close those? We announced June 24th. On what day is it today? 16th. So 3 weeks. And this was a complex finance. And all financings are complex, right? As Joey said, you got to track down sub-agreements. One order goes up, one order comes down, and market, you're dealing with human emotions. Fortunately, it was backstopped, so we were in good shape. Now we have this luxury of your shareholder hands are changing. It's like one of our lawyers, a great analogy was when a rocket ship goes up, what is it? All the equipment and dust falls off and you're leaving people behind. And that's the evolution. When you're buying a stock at a quarter, you're probably going to sell at $1. If you buy at $1, you're going to sell at $2. And it's just the evolution of the shareholder base. And we're seeing that right away. The people that were with us a year ago, fortunately and naturally, they have to sell and move on. And the people that were there a month ago will probably do the same thing a month from now, should we continue this trajectory, which I believe you will. And now we're just seeing new shareholder base, new investment. And the bigger and more sophisticated and more serious they get, the faster they move. They don't have to sit on it or sleep on it or, think how they feel. They got an agenda, they got a button, and you got to be ready with them. And we are. And our goal is, when we started out, Joey would say these big numbers, and naturally being Canadian, and I was like, be careful, and, give it a year or two. Let's figure it out. And let me talk.
One of the first conversations while I was jamming orange pills down Mehdi's throat was I was like, I think we need to buy 1,867 Bitcoin as to say thank you to Canada. That was the year your country was formed. And he was like, holy shit, that's a lot of Bitcoin. I don't think we can say that. I was like, well, Saylor just keeps saying, I'm going to just keep buying Bitcoin forever. Why can't we need a goal. We need to have a mark that we want to hit. And by the way, we want to hit it this year. Mehdi's like, oh no, yeah, I don't know. And I'm like, well, I do know. And that is that is the goal. Like, so, but I think that now he sees the stock go from a nickel to 50 cents in the last 37 days.
Well, look at
He's
this.
like, can we buy more than 1,000?
Well, look, we started buying. My goal was just to put 250 grand of Bitcoin in it, just keep it in there. Then we bought 4.5, close to 5 Bitcoins, and then we bought 15 or 16 within a few weeks. And now we're about to buy, public disclosure, whatever we announced today, we're going to buy all of that, right? So what is that?
We'll buy another 60 Bitcoin with the money 60, that we have in the bank now.
Whatever the market is. Yeah. So we're not
tonight or
at the moment it's in our account, it's in our CoinSquare account, and our partners that we're working with, and we can name who we're going to be working with and so on. Yeah, we're just going to say, now we have this many. And I think what I want to reflect on going back is, look, we started with 0. What does Drake say? Started from the bottom. And
right.
Yeah, started from the bottom. We could use that actually.
Yeah.
I think that's just going to be it. Our efforts and our results will be measured by what we do, not by what we say. And I think that's for any company, right? You're only as pretty as what you say, and actually executing. Sorry, you're only as good as what you say. And if you execute it, then the market will love you and respect you, and then if you don't, then the market will punish you. So we are ready for that, and I think we've done a good job in backing our words. And now the next step is bigger and bigger and bigger. And at first I couldn't understand it, right? Because again, this is where I keep using the word organically taking the orange pill. Unless you feel it, or unless it hits you in your blood and your core, you won't have the conviction. It's not there. It's like you can't convince someone who's not a vegetarian or a meat eater. You just can't. It becomes your political way, it becomes your religious way. Is there going to be a Bitcoin political party or?
The Orange Party?
The Orange Party. Well, there's one in Canada, doesn't there? No,
I don't know. Let's nominate Kotz, though, for sure.
Tim for president.
It's interesting with what's going on with the third party. I don't know if that's like a real thing, if that's going to happen, the America Party. But it seems like, the big Bitcoiners have been on Elon about it and embracing it. But
each Bitcoin gets
you
a
had
vote.
one lukewarm. I heard Saylor say this. You had one lukewarm cabinet member from the last administration in the whole cabinet, to 12, all 12 being, I don't know if they're Bitcoin savants, but they're definitely pro-Bitcoin. And I heard British say it on the podcast the other day that you have the C-suite of Wall Street in, you've got the C-suite of Washington in, and this is great. You got some guy from over the pond paying attention like that. The world recognizes that America is definitely super strong and has adopted Bitcoin in a big way. Hence, it 110% in the last year, so, or more.
Well, look, it's adopting in developing countries faster than ever. I think there's a lot of stat that doesn't even go into that. I'll talk about my family. My mother, escaped Iran after the revolution. There was a horrible, horrible regime that took over, and you had to leave. You're in exile, and you're a lot of people that are cut off from the banking system because of the tyrant regime that's there. And I've never been back there, but I've cousins and relatives there that are stuck and they can't get out. You can't, you want to help them, you want to send money, you can't do it through the regular banking channels. Back in the day, if somebody was traveling somewhere, you give them a envelope of cash and, they skim some off the top, and now it just bank, Bitcoin, boom, it's there. So, look what Bitcoin has done. It's allowing political monsters to die. I think that's not even talked about. Bitcoin could be the reason the Islamic Revolution dies. Do you run
it should be, and it will be.
And it will be. Bitcoin will bring freedom, and I got goosebumps. It will bring freedom and democracy. It'll bring justice to the world.
Yeah.
And that hasn't even been talked about. And it's so taboo to even maybe talk about it, but it's the truth.
Yeah. Just on the way here, we needed cash. We went into like one of these little bodegas. Mehdi's like, no, I don't trust that ATM. I'm like, why? I'm like, it's fine, Mehdi. But still, like, dude, we're in New York City in 2025. We needed cash on the way here. And like people, like the CEO of a publicly traded company is sketched out by an ATM in the corner of a little store. So, I mean, it happens, not to dilute what you were saying about Iran, but it just, nobody trusts fiat. It's just awful.
Well, you can't, especially, look, how's El Salvador done versus the rest of the Latin world? I mean, it's just pretty easy to see, right? And then you look at countries that are adopting it more. How are they doing? They're more advanced, the happier lives. Countries are better.
It's governed by rules, not rulers, which makes people feel really comfortable.
Yeah. And I think when you look at countries under these, theocracies and tyrant regime, they're going to fall because Bitcoin will, it'll engulf the people. These governments were, I don't want to get into too many political things, but they tried to hush the people. They tried to silence the young, educated world to see everything as bad because they had a negative agenda. But with Bitcoin, they have money. They have access to money. They have access to the outside world. I think the political movement of Bitcoin hasn't even started yet. And these are things that we don't even know about. We don't know what's happening in North Korea. We don't know what's happening in Iran. We don't know what's happening in all sorts of, countries that are bogged down by fiat. Like, look at Africa. You got presidents in there. The guy's, who's it in Cameroon? The guy's like 92 and he's running for president again. Good for him. I mean, anyway, let's not get into that too much. But it is the reality of it. So us as a junior micro cap company trying to trailblaze, and I'm calling other people to do it, and they're like, well, they're your competition. They're not my competition. This is an army. We want to be ahead, but this is
we're all walking Satoshi's path.
Yeah, this is a movement.
For sure.
It's a movement.
Yeah. Kotz, where are your glasses today? We don't get the glasses? There they are. Showtime.
There you go.
What are some of the conversations with other individuals that are running companies that could do this? Is it the education and appreciation piece on Bitcoin, or is it something else, or is it multiple things?
Everyone's got their agenda. I mean, do it right. The market will judge you by what you do, right? Like if companies get in and buy X% and just keep it, that's their prerogative, right? That's their agenda, and their shareholders will measure and judge them based on that. Our goal and agenda is different. We want to be only Bitcoin. We want to buy as much Bitcoin, and we would love to be measured by that. We don't have a tech business, or we don't have anything. Just buying Bitcoin. We're going to announce some pretty cool stuff, which, what I learned is if you can't do something yourself, bring in really smart people to do it. And we've done that. And that's big thanks in part to Joey, Matt, Tad, Khaled, of course.
But you said something. You said we don't have, but you said we don't have anything. We have everything. I mean, to be born a fortunate human life, it's 1 in 400 trillion. So there's nothing that we're going to do that'll ever surpass those odds as living grown men. I mean, we've already beat the odds by being born, and so now it's about appreciating everything in the moment.
Well, gratitude for pain. I mean, I love that line. Grateful for pain, and and the more you learn, the less you know. My dad, he passed away a couple of years ago. And it's funny, the Carrot Express here, we used to go to that one in Florida all the time, and I had a very special moment at that place a couple of years ago. So it kind of hit me when we were here. And he used to always tell me, he goes, the more you learn, the less you know. And I'm like, what's this old guy talking about? Like, the more you learn, the less you know. And now I get it, the more, that's why you got to be surrounded with good people. You got to have really good people around you, because there's always somebody who's smarter than you. And that's this business here, right? Our job is to bring in those really intelligent people to help you, to help build with you. And that's what Bitcoin did. I think I like to be, the face of it in Canada, to say, look, it revolutionized us, my company, our shareholder base. But it has to happen in a way that it's authentic. It has to be genuine. It has to hit you to the core. If you look at it as an asset class, okay, that's great. If it's a diversified, that's really good too. But if you want to do this forever, then it'll reward you. It really will reward you. There's going to be bumps. It'll be choppy. But, could we sit in this room with you if we're going to talk about, I don't know, opening a restaurant? Probably not. So, you get in rooms that you weren't invited to before.
Only the scarce will survive. That's
Survival of the fittest.
That's a quote from Adam Livingston. Only the scarce will survive. I love it. It's true. Because he's so AI has replaced consciousness. So, machines replaced muscle and man and strength. So then now what differentiates or makes somebody elite nowadays? And it's my opinion would be the ability to feel, because you got the machine that can think. So the software in the heart that creates the ability to feel is called direct perception. And a lot of people, especially living in New York or any big city, Toronto, Chicago, it's tough to be in tune with the ability to feel love, happiness, joy. And that's super important. And maybe I'm off topic here, but yeah, I mean, Bitcoin has the ability to really reset people, their ideas, and allow people to connect in a way that they weren't able to before. Yeah. Shout out Adam Livingston.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah. Thanks for that video the other day. That was amazing.
It was amazing. It was entertaining.
On the thumbnail, it's BLGV, or is it Belgravia Hartford, the next Microstrategy, or Microstrategy of Canada, ? Which is just so generous. So good.
Yeah.
He's so funny.
You gotta first listen to it, and then you gotta look at it, watching it at the same.
Right.
You get the vivid view that, yeah.
Yeah, his one or two liners are just the best in the business. There's a guy named Kill Tony. I don't know if you guys see him on YouTube. He's got nothing to do with Bitcoin, but he does these live. He's the largest live podcast in the world. That's his thing, and it's every Monday. It's filmed in Austin, Texas, and it's comedy. Every minute they give a comedian a minute to do stand-up, and then they interview him with a panel of other comedians. It's hysterical. And Adam Livingston, to me, is the Kill Tony of all of Bitcoin, because he is says the most vulgar, off the cuff
but he's honest,
stuff. But he's brilliant.
He's
He's
blunt.
smart and sharp and knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, you got to be yourself. I think people gravitate towards that versus if you're stiff and just saying something that's not authentic.
Yeah.
Well, he's great. Big shout out to Adam.
This episode is brought to you by Arch Lending, the premier provider of crypto-backed loans designed for both individual and institutional investors. At Arch, your digital assets work for you without selling them. Arch offers flexible loan options tailored to your needs. Backed by industry leaders like Morgan Creek Digital, Castle Island Ventures, and Galaxy Ventures, Arch Lending is setting a new standard in crypto-backed lending. Are you ready to unlock the potential of your crypto assets? Visit archlending.com to learn more and configure your loan today. Are you looking for comprehensive analytics on corporate Bitcoin adoption? Strategy Tracker delivers real-time insights into how companies are executing their Bitcoin strategies completely free. Monitor NAV premiums, cost basis performance, and track how corporate Bitcoin treasuries perform against the market. Upgrade to premium for just $3.99 a month and unlock exclusive benefits like detailed market rankings, real-time trading volume analysis, and advanced performance metrics for corporations embracing Bitcoin. Apply code KOTZ at checkout for 100% off your first month of premium. Strategy Tracker is your essential tool for measuring the effectiveness of corporate Bitcoin strategies. Visit strategytracker.com and gain the analytical edge in understanding the Bitcoin Treasury phenomenon. Bigger picture. Where is all of this in a couple of years? Is every company going to have some Bitcoin on their balance sheet? Like they'll kind of realize it. Like we don't go around and say, oh, well, that's an internet company.
It feels like it to me. Yeah. I mean, these big companies have to be resized because I think NVIDIA is worth like how many millions of Bitcoin? Like it doesn't fit. So they have to be repriced. But the companies that don't have Bitcoin, yeah, for sure. I mean, eventually they'll have to. Lakeside Bank will have to adopt Bitcoin or they'll die.
You should buy Belgravia. They should buy Belgravia.
I mean,
do a merger.
I mean, Tim, it's a great question. I'd love to ask you. I feel like, you're the sorcerer. You know so much. You've interviewed so many of these treasury companies. I'd be hard pressed to find someone that knows more about MicroStrategy than you. So you really know the ins and outs of the first Bitcoin treasury company. And as a result of that, you probably are a better predictor of what's going to happen in the future to Bitcoin on the balance sheet for the rest of the companies on Earth.
I want to switch this around. It's like, in Step Brothers where he asked the guy a question in the interview. Let us ask you the questions. What don't you like to see? Like, there's what did Sailor say? There's now 165 treasury companies and growing. And, what don't you like to see and what do you like to see as a guy who sees
good
everything?
Question. Ask Tim, what makes a good treasury company?
That'd be a good name for a show. Ask Tim.
Ask Tim.
Coming soon. In a world. I mean, I was talking to someone this morning. I think there's this narrative out there that there's going to be this huge bear market and these companies are going to just have to sell their Bitcoin. And I think Saylor has said very clearly that the common stock equity is going to get crushed. But these, at least most of them, all of them hopefully so far, there's structures that are medium to long-term structures. So the common stock might get crushed, but that doesn't mean anybody has to sell their Bitcoin. I think that's really important for people to know.
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of some of these fundamental aspects of Bitcoin, fundamental aspects of being thoughtful about any debt you're going to take on, percentage of debt. I think Saylor's been very clear about that 20 to 30% ratio.
Debt to equity, yeah.
How do you feel about operating companies as part of the strategy?
I think it was you guys at the digital conferences said like business is hard. Like,
I mean, don't 99% of businesses fail? I mean, anytime there's humans involved, there's error. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, and I think companies can certainly differentiate by being the first or one of the first in their vertical, their industry. And that could be a good story. But the ones that are leaning towards something digital, whether that's financial services or it's digital something, digital, social, whatever that is, I think that makes maybe the most sense because it's the digital transformation of everything, not just investor relations.
Right.
Way of life.
Or better yet, don't have a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, look, as a holding company, as a mutual fund company, as an investment company, your job is to make money. You just make a good investment. And, analysts sit there for hours and hours and, they go through financials and they study trends and macro trends, micro management backgrounds. I mean, how much time is that? I mean, if you have conviction that you're going to do X percentage every year over X so many years, you just eliminated your own headaches and human relation people. So, maybe I repeat myself because I'm so convinced and I've never been so convinced about anything else. And I've had a lot of failures and I've swung and I've hit a few and I've missed a few. And I realized those were all timing people, you know, God's got to align you at the right place at the right time, but somebody could still screw something up for you. Here, you don't you eliminate all of that. It's just you and your team and your execution. And yeah, there comes a time where things do get softer and markets are quieter, and you got to kind of be in hibernation and rethink. And
winter's not coming back.
No, but that's when you buy. That's when you got to be positioned to. That's when you overleap. That's when the weak die and the strong survive and prosper.
Right.
Yeah. You buy when there's blood on the street, and a lot of people will run away, and we'll have that again. That'll probably happen. And our job is to be well positioned for that, but it won't be anytime soon.
Yeah, super cycle inbound. That's what it feels like. We'll see.
Was it 444?
Yeah, I mean, that was a Josh Mann prediction, 444 at the top of the cycle, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'll say that I have a 3-year-old daughter at home, and I don't think she'll ever, her name is Gemma, I don't think Gemma will ever write a check or sign a wire form in her life, right? I mean, she's 13 years away from probably having to take money out of a bank, if that's even the thing then. But I just don't see it happening with all these treasury companies coming online and the innovation transcending at the pace at which it is. I feel like the tools for capital markets are all going to be on the Lightning Network or on just the base chain layer 1 of Bitcoin. So strap in, plan accordingly.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, once in a generation opportunity here.
Maybe once, and then there'll be quite a few generations that go by.
Yeah, that's right.
What would you call that?
Multi-generational?
Once in a century? Once in 1,000 years?
When was the last time this happened? The gold rush?
Well, I mean, IBAN and SWIFT, the Fedwire was invented in what, like 1913? Okay, and IBAN was invented in the 70s. Like, that's what we use today to send money still. So that I mean, talk about horse and buggy.
You don't have to deal with lawyers anymore.
Right. I mean, 120 years ago, those cars were long gone, and you've got all sorts of you've got government agencies to make sure that the car passes emissions, etc. Like, why isn't that happen with the financial system?
Because it's not meant to happen.
Right.
Because it's designed for it not
exactly.
to happen.
It's been they've kept it broken, and it's past the point of repair. It needed to be replaced, and that's what Satoshi did. For him to build a $2.5 trillion asset class and walk away from it.
It's dysfunctional by design.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of money in this. I mean, why do lawyers and surgeons and architects and engineers, they make a living fixing things?
Right.
So if the financial system was fixed, there is no 3% here, 2% there, management fee here, service fee there.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Are we in danger of talking like this, or no? We're safe.
Where can people find you on the internet?
BLGVBTC.com is where we have treasury management tools. Belgravia Hartford on Twitter. We've got a great community there. Canadian Treasuries community is amazing. And my Twitter handle is Joey_Cacciatore.
Yeah, and I'm Mehdi Azodi, BLGV. So it's my first name, last name, BLGV. I'm going to be on Twitter or X more. I'm going to be more active, engaging more with people like yourself. Yeah.
Just post.
Yeah. Every Friday we host a live spaces. This Friday we're going to have video for the first time. It'll be our 5th Friday since we started. And it's really exploded from the first Friday of just me, you, Matt, and Thad. Shout out Matt and Thad. And I think this last spaces, we had maybe like over 100 people in the room.
Oh,
like
thousands.
No, right. But I'm saying like
in
live.
this room,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. So.
And it's a 99%, lovable, friendly, loyal. And we got to say thanks to them. I mean, they're shareholders. And then there's always 1% who say funny things. And, you know, who did we talk about what happened in Toronto?
Oh yeah, Kotz, thanks for that. That's how I got Fong's email. Was I DM Kotz right away?
Yeah.
So we walked into this restaurant. We weren't even supposed to be there. I told the story on Live Spaces. We were meeting an investment banker in Toronto. What's his name? Not Caleb. What was his name?
Rahim Alani.
Yeah, shout out Rahim. What a nice guy.
He's a big shareholder. Yeah.
So we're meeting Rahim. We're supposed to meet him at this place called Black and Blue. We walk in. It's packed, and they only have 3 seats at the bar, and it's hot. And I'm like, Mehdi, we're not gonna be able to see each other like lined up at the bar. He was like, all right, let's go to this other place down the street called Buy Market.
Yeah, it's like a Toronto,
like all
banker
the traders.
institution, and it's been there. Nice patio, so quiet.
Yeah, everyone's in a suit outside. It was nice. So we got there. The hostess was like, let me get the table together. She starts getting the table together, and we start walking to the table. Rahim and Mehdi sit down, and out of the corner of my right eye, I see Phong. And I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy that Phong is here right now. We're literally taking meetings trying to raise money to buy Bitcoin. And the Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali of it is here. So before I sat down, I knew I had to act really quick. So I shouted his name. I'm like, Phong. And then he looked at me, he smiled, and he's like, hey, nice to see you. He and I have never met before. So he was just being super nice and polite and cordial. And he came over and I introduced myself. I said, I'm Joey Cacciatore, the director of Bitcoin Strategy at Belgravia. Meet our CEO, Mehdi. And then as a result, he brought over a few other guys that he was with. And one of them, I think his name was Corey. He said, meet Corey. Corey raised, I don't know if he said all the money, but he said
billions.
Corey raised billions. When Ryan wanted to raise money for his converts at GameStop, Corey raised them the money. And Phong said, I love what you guys are doing. I don't know if he knows even what we're doing, but he was like, get a little bit bigger. Because he said, well, what are you guys doing? I said, well, we just raised our first convert. This was when we first had inked the deal with R13 earlier in the day.
No. That was, we were talking about it.
Right. I mean, we had negotiated, but we had negotiated all of the terms. Like it was there. So I was like, we just did our first deal. It's very small. And anyway, he was like, get a little bit bigger and I'll help you guys raise billions, or Corey will facilitate raising billions of dollars. So that was amazing. So then he says, email me. I'm like, okay, like, how am I going to get your email? So I'm like DMing Kotz. I'm like, Tim, please. And you're like, yes, tell him Kotz says hello. So I did. Like, I emailed him and he got up to go to the bathroom. He was with security. Like, I could tell he was with that same guy that sailor was with. And he went out of his way to stop at our table while going back to his buddies. And he was like, he thumbs up and was like, I got the email. So that was solid. What a cool, like, just serendipitous moment. So thank you for that. That was nice, Tim. I owe you one.
It's going to take all of us.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.